Welcome in, listeners. Welcome back to the Flippin' the Bird podcast. I'm your host, Luke Lawhorn, the sports editor here at the Paisano, UTSA's student newspaper. We're just so eager to talk about football. We're back with the second episode this week with the same guys, both Rylan and Connor. Aramis is joining us again after taking, it seemed like a couple weeks off. Been off forever, it seemed like. We have a lot to catch up on. And yeah, like I said, we want to talk some UTSA football, who they play Florida Atlantic tomorrow. Let me get some of my guys in here. Rylan, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's a beautiful day. Talking some ball, always nice.
Yeah, I'm ready to get started. Going to be a good weekend of some ball ahead of us, so let's get to talking.
Yeah, I'm back, and it's going to be a great weekend. I'm kind of scared about our matchup against FAU, also scared about my team, the Ravens, going up against the Lions, but I'm ready. It's going to be a good weekend.
That Ravens-Lions game, especially since the Bengals are off, that might be my favorite game of the weekend, and definitely will be a Detroit fan this weekend. But first and foremost, we're going to talk about some UTSA football. They're looking to extend their winning streak to 3 after that sluggish 1-3 start. Since conference play, they've handled business against Temple. They've handled business against UAB. Now we're looking to try to handle business against Florida Atlantic, who, by the way, the Roadrunners have never beaten before. 0-3 all time. That's pretty weird. But Jeff Traylor, I don't think we've ever played with Jeff Traylor, though. I think the last time we played was 2019, maybe 2020. Okay, so Jeff Traylor did lose once, and I think it was at home, actually, now I'm thinking about it.
Was it? No, it was FA. We were at FAU in 2020.
Okay, we were at FAU. Wait, why are we going back to FAU this year?
We were in the Dome 2019. That was that game with Lowell and Narcisse, and then we played them in FAU with Jeff Traylor in 2020.
Perfect. So now we're looking for some revenge, try to go over there and get on the win column. Of course, who was just correcting me was Rylan, our head UTSA football guy, who now I want to kind of break down this game for tomorrow. So, Rylan, what's going to be the key for the Roadrunners to beat Florida Atlantic, and what are you expecting to see tomorrow?
Well, the key it was seeing what UTSA football team we're going to get. We've seen them play bad offense with good defense. We've seen them play good defense with good offense with bad defense, and we've seen them play with both. So it just really depends on who shows up. And I really do think that we're going to have another statement win. We had a good statement win against UAB, and I think we're going to show out again against Florida Atlantic on the road, getting our first win against FAU, which is a weird team to have never beaten, right? Like, it's not like there's some kind of powerhouse, but all respect to them. I think the key is going to be, Frank Harris continuing to feel comfortable, continuing to step in and make throws, and that defense not necessarily having to play great, but just good enough to where the offense doesn't have to score 40-plus every game.
Yeah, I'm actually going to have a different perspective from you on this because FAU, they put up a whooping against South Florida last week. And South Florida, I know the record's not that great, but they almost beat Bama, so they're not a terrible team. But FAU put up 56 on them. I think UTSA's defense has got to have another good performance. They looked really good against UAB. If they can continue the momentum. Before the UAB game, I said the secondary was the biggest issue that I think all season. It looked better. As long as they keep improving, I think UTSA does win this game, but they've got to stop the FAU offense because they can put up points.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off of what Connor said. This game is going to come down to the UTSA defense. They're going to need to continue the intensity that they had against UAB. I mean, Trey Moore and that defensive line, they're going to have to pressure Daniel Richardson because UTSA secondary, they're going to have their hands full. They're going to be dealing with Tony Johnson. And FAU has another receiver that made a crazy catch against South Florida. I forgot what his name was, but the main one, LaJonte Wester. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he's a Biletnikoff finalist for this year. I mean, the last seriously, the last 5 games, he has had at least 9 catches and at least 98 yards in those last 5 games. So they're going to have their hands full with him. They're going to have to pressure Daniel Richardson. And that FAU defense hasn't been that bad. They've allowed less than 200 passing yards a game. It's going to come down to Kavorian Barnes, Robert Henry, and then also Frank Harris being able to make plays with his legs. And at the end of the day, I think they're going to be able to get it done.
Aramis, if you don't mind handing that mic to Rylan real quick, because I just saw a couple expressions from Rylan, and I probably agree with him, but I kind of want to get his take on everything that you just said, Rylan. Are you not fearful of the Owls' offensive attack?
No. Okay. We respect them, right? They're in our conference, right? You got to have some sort of respect. You can't just go in there like, oh, these guys are trash, right? But they do have good weapons, right? But I trust our secondary. I don't see our secondary as a weakness at all. Rashad Wisdom, obviously. I think Cam Alexander, if you ask me today, has been our best player all year. I like Cam Alexander. He's a playmaker. He got our first interception against UAB. So I don't think that's going to be the area where we'll struggle as far as the passing game. Even though they do have a formidable passing attack.
Did any of y'all by chance read the article that came out a couple days ago that I did with the Owls?
Mm-hmm.
Maddox Greenberg, the sports editor there at the U Press at FAU, does a great job, but he was pretty confident. He sounded a lot like Aramis the other day, saying, he said, I'm just going to read one of the quotes he told me. Quote, when you give Daniel Richardson, their quarterback, time in the pocket and protect him, he can find someone, either LaJohntay Wester, who Aramis brought up, or Tony Johnson, Jaquan Burton, or anyone, end quote. So who knows? Maybe this offensive attack there, this trio of receivers. No, honestly, I share the same reasoning as Rylan. I actually think UTSA, and I was pretty straightforward with this in that interview on Wednesday. I really think UTSA is about to win by at least 2 to 3 scores. So at least 10 to 13 points. 10 to 17. I think that's pretty realistic, honestly. We saw what UTSA did to UAB, and I thought that we all thought that UAB, that game would be close.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing what UTSA did, I can't help but be more optimistic about their season after that game, Rylan.
Oh, yeah. Well, one of the points that the guy from the FAU newspaper gave out was that if you give him time, well, hey, we got Trey Moore, who's putting together one of the best, edge rushing seasons in UTSA history. He's just 3 sacks away from breaking the single season record held by Clarence Hicks in 2021. So those guys they're starting to find their groove. You saw Brandon Madison also put together Jamori Robinson start to get after Jacob Zeno and UAB. So we always turn up in conference play. Jeff Traylor has an amazing conference play record. I'm not sure what the exact number is, but I expect these guys to turn up. I expect Trey Moore to put together another great game, and I don't expect him to have time to find those guys. So that's why I'm confident about this game.
Well, Jeff Traylor is 22-3 in the regular season in conference games, and 24-3 against league competition, including 2 UTSA championship games. So that should tell you right there. And going back to Trey Moore, who did win the American Athletic Conference Defensive Player of the Week last week and leads the AAC in sacks per game, 1.25, and tackles for loss, 1.7. So that shows it right there. Connor, do you have anything to add for this Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think, like I said, like the defensive line, they've got to get after FAU's quarterback because I don't know. I'm a little nervous about that receiving core. I think it's pretty underrated. I think y'all are sleeping on him a little bit from what I've seen. I honestly think, like, when I was looking at the schedule before the season, I thought this was going to be a tough game. I thought it was going to be a trap game. I don't know. It's just, like you said, we haven't beaten FAU. That kind of, like, worries me a little bit in the back of my mind. I'm still confident in the Roadrunners, but I think it's going to be a little closer than y'all think. I think it's going to be 1, maybe 2 scores. But I think UTSA will end up kind of pulling it out.
Yeah, I mean, like Connor said, Wester scares me. That trio of receivers that they scare me. And again, like you said, like Luke said, we have Trey Moore, but they got that trio of receivers, and Daniel Richardson has been playing good. I think we're going to pull it out, but if we win, it's going to be a close game. I don't think we're going to win by 3 scores, like Luke said. I don't know.
Man, we have a fearful bunch over here, Rylan. I'm pretty confident about this. Okay, so let me ask y'all again, since we're pretty divided on tomorrow's game. 2 of us, well, we all think UTSA is going to win, right? But 2 of us, are you confident like I am?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have 2 pretty confident, 2 think it could be a possible trap game. I don't know. Maybe, I think for Connor, maybe Tom Herman scares him a little. Yeah. I think that's what it is. Let's say we beat Florida Atlantic. Do these next 4 weeks until the Tulane game, or would we have those in the bag, Aramis? So we would go from Florida Atlantic to East Carolina and to back-to-back familiar opponents in North Texas and Rice, and then South Florida before that Tulane game. So if you guys are, pretty concerned about tomorrow's game, or just, maybe it's not as easy as I'm thinking it will be. If we win that game, will we go on, still with at that point, 7 or 8 game win streak into the Tulane game?
I mean, for me, if we win this game, the Tulane game obviously scares me. I'm also a little bit scared about Rice because their quarterback is really good. But East Carolina, we're going to win. I think we're going to beat North Texas. I think we beat South Florida. So if we win this game, I definitely see us having a chance.
Yeah, I mean, East Carolina's terrible. We're going to blow them out. North Texas, that's a rivalry game. That can always be close. It's usually pretty close. I still think we'll beat them. JT Daniels isn't exactly a great quarterback, but he's a decent quarterback. I still think we beat Rice. We beat him pretty bad every year. And then South Florida, I think we'll beat them at home. And then, that Tulane game, that's the marquee matchup. So after this game, though, I do think we'll go on, keep that winning streak going. And then Tulane, we'll see what happens.
You said JT Daniels? He like he's a five-time transfer. He's pushing 40.
Oh
my Come on now, man. Like Rice, we will win this game. We will beat FAU handily, and we will cruise to Tulane. Whether or not we win that game doesn't really matter because we'll be in the conference championship against them. So I'm confident. This is the team that I thought we would see coming into the season. Obviously, we didn't have the start we wanted, but we played a good Tennessee team. Played a physical Army team, and we're a little rusty against Houston. So 9-3 is what I predicted coming into the season. Didn't happen with the game, the exact games, right? But this is a good UTSA team.
Are you sure you said 9-3 coming into the season?
I swear I did. Tennessee, I had lost to Tennessee.
Okay, you did, but I really thought that might have been it. I thought you were the one who said like 11-1.
11. I said 11-1
or 10-2. Because I know I said 9-3, maybe 8-4, but I was standing on that. I'll believe you. I just generally thought it was 11-1. If you say 9-3, I'll believe you.
No, you know what? I may have been 10-2 because I didn't think we were going to be Houston. Actually, that's right.
Okay. Just wanted to get that right. And this is so for me, we're on 9-3 pace, 8-4, which I'd be completely happy with because again, not only will that be good, but that's what I predicted. I can kind of foresee. That's kind of my calling. Switching over to the rest of college football, there's a lot of big games this weekend. Of course, my own Buckeyes play Penn State. Alabama plays Tennessee, and that could be a great game after what happened last year. What else is going on? We got Utah, USC. That could be really good, seeing how Caleb Williams and the Trojans bounce back. So, Rylan, looking at all these other games across the country, taking a step away from UTSA, looking at all these other teams, which game tomorrow excites you the most?
It's Ohio State, Penn State, right? I mean, that's just the ultimate heavyweight matchup of the week. You got top 4 playoff Ohio State versus Penn State, who very well could be a playoff team. Anyways, they're tough, and I'm actually picking Penn State in that game. So I it's going to be interesting to watch. I know Luke's not happy with that pick, or I don't even. How confident are you in that one?
I don't speak on my team, especially playing games like this. I mean, I'm a pretty pessimistic guy. I mean, I had the Bengals losing to the Seahawks. I had Ohio State losing to Notre Dame. I'm assuming, Penn State's going to be a good matchup. Now that I have the mic, I'm just going to break in a little 30 seconds here. Penn State is a young squad, and Drew Aller, the new quarterback, he hasn't looked as good as I thought he would. He's actually, I can't remember the exact stat or the ranking, but he was like 43 or 44, and Kyle McCord was like 16th or something. I think it was in quarterback rating.
QBR,
yeah. Yeah. So, we should get a lot of our pieces back. We sat all of our skill players last week, except Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Buka, Trayvon Henderson, Mayan Williams. We had another running back, Chip Train, go out with an injury. So, honestly, we're at home. We're a pretty veteran team. It's going to be close. It's going to be a big test for our defense to see if they're as legitimate as we think. They've been playing lights out this year. So we'll see tomorrow, how they do. But I'll give it back to y'all.
Yeah.
Man, oh man, there are some good games. I would say Texas and Houston, but that's going to be an obliteration. I think Texas destroys them. Don't think it's even close. I'm going to go with Bama and Tennessee. All right, Alabama, you're number 11. I've seen you play against A&M. I was there. You didn't look that great. The defense looks pretty good. You want to prove to the nation that you're still potentially a contender in the CFB? I need you to blow out Tennessee. I want to see a performance against Tennessee after what they did last season. I want to see if Nick Saban's squad is still top dog. They want to still be the top dog. Prove it. Prove it against Tennessee. Prove it against a rival in the SEC and Bryant-Denny Stadium. I want to see it. I want to see them, prove that they are still Alabama. Mighty, fearful Alabama.
Yeah, so there's a couple good games this week. Utah versus USC. If Cam Rising isn't playing, I think USC wins that one. And Duke versus Florida State. If Riley Leonard isn't playing, I think Florida State wins that one easily. But the big one, it has to be Penn State versus Ohio State. I mean, two of the best offenses, two of the best defenses. I think Ohio State is going to get it done. They have Marvin Harrison Jr., who last year in Penn State put up 10 catches and 185 receiving yards. I think he's going to have an even better performance tomorrow. He has a size advantage over two of Penn State's best corners, which are Kalen King and Johnny Dixon. But the game is going to come down to the passing offense for Ohio State and whether Kyle McCord can find Marvin Harrison Jr. and get through the pressure that Penn State's defensive line is going to put on him. But I think that Ohio State, they're at home, they're at the shoe. I think they're going to get it done.
Thankfully for Ohio State, number 18 is always open, really, regardless. And like, just being totally honest, they'll find him. That's not the issue. The issue is kind of getting the ball there. You know, Kyle McCord, I've been liking what he's been doing, especially since the Notre Dame game. He's really picked it up. I mean, like I said about losing all our skill players last week, we really handled Purdue. And by the way, no one's ever talked about this. We haven't played any FCS teams like all these other schools have. Penn State's schedule is soft. That's why it's really kind of hard to gauge. Ohio State has opened with conference opponents, played Notre Dame. So they're just a little more tested. That's why I'll give them, plus that experience, an edge. But I will not at all be surprised if when we come back here next week, Penn State wins. Because truthfully, I think whoever wins this game will go on. And if they beat Michigan, they'll finish as the 1 seed in the entire playoff. Just because of that resume, if whoever wins the division would have 2 wins over 2 top 5 teams. And if it was Ohio State, add Notre Dame. And if it's Penn State, you add Iowa, who's now ranked 24th. But since I'm not going to give a prediction on who's going to win this game, even though you can kind of tell who I'm leaning towards, I'm going to talk about Duke and Florida State because I think this game has a lot of implications because I think Florida State is really fraudulent, just to tell you the truth. They've skimmed by. Rylan shaking his head because if I remember correctly, that is his national champion pick. But I think Rylan would admit they've shaken by in a few games. And they're playing Duke, who is ranked 16th. Obviously, Notre Dame beat them, but Duke's handled business everywhere else. And genuinely, I don't even want to sound like a hater on the Seminoles at all because I don't even think that's how I'm coming across. But I think it's a big game because if Florida State wins, then it's like validation because they've been struggling. Like, okay, fine, you can stay in the top 4, at least, for sure top 5, have the rest of the season in front of you. You already handled your business with Clemson. But if they lose Duke, then it's like, okay, we've seen this coming. Now you can move down, Rylan. So are you confident in that game? Because I know that's your national champion pick, and
Right.
I haven't been confident in Florida State all year. So my favorite game is this one because I think it has the potential to expose the Seminoles as fraudulent.
Nah, I think they're going to come out and I think they're going to get their state win, right? They struggled against Boston College, Clemson, who Clemson isn't, Clemson right now. So a lot of people are doubting, but I think, Keon Coleman is legit. I think he's the best wide receiver in the nation right now. So I think they're gonna go out there.
Wow.
And I think they're gonna put it on Duke, and I think they're gonna show everyone why they deserve to be in the top 4.
You know what? Next week we can revisit this. We will see who dominated. Rylan could very well be right, and and along with everybody else, be proven wrong because everyone knows Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best guy. But we'll see. We'll see. Great games all over Saturday. Well, let's talk about the NFL real quick before we get out of here. We have a couple scholars in here. Got to hurry and get to class. So not too much to talk about in the NFL as the Bengals have a bye week. The Cowboys have a bye week. A couple of our teams play, but not in too big of games. However, those Ravens, Aramis' team, they have a big game against the Lions. So we'll start with him, Aramis. What are you looking forward to this Sunday? Any big upsets happening, or are you just all in on the Ravens?
I'm all in on the Ravens game. I mean, it's going to be a huge test for us. This Lions team, I mean, I was thinking about it earlier. It has to be the best Lions team of the last 30 years. I don't know if this is a good comparison, but it's like if the 2011 Lions offense just joined together with that 2014 Lions defense. I mean, they are great offensively, and the best part of that team is the defense. So I'm a little bit scared, but the Ravens also have a great defense. Their offense has been shaky at times. I will say this, if the Ravens offense that showed up last week against the Titans shows up this week, we're going to lose this game. So we have to be better. I think we're going to pull it out, but it's going to be a low-scoring affair.
Oh, man. There's some good ones, but my pick, Dolphins and Eagles. Sunday Night Football. Both teams 5-1. Eagles just took a pretty tough loss to the old New York Jets. Jalen Hurts did not look too good. Probably one of the worst performances I've seen him have in an Eagles jersey. So I'm kind of seeing if he's going to bounce back. As a Cowboys fan, I hope the Eagles lose again. That'd be hilarious. But it's going to be I think it's going to be a good game. I can expect to see that Dolphins, offense kind of take over. I could see Tyreek Hill having a monster game. He's been cooking this season like he usually does. So that's my game. I do think the Dolphins are going to win though. But I think it'll be close. I think the Eagles will bounce back.
Surprised nobody said Chiefs Chargers. That's always a good matchup.
Yeah.
I don't think they've ever had a bad matchup, even when Herbert was thrown in there because they punctured Tyrod's lung.
Stabbed him.
He went in there and that was a game. They almost won that. So that's my pick. Obviously, want my Seahawks to win as well, but we won that.
And that's not a bad pick because that was going to be mine, Chargers and Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
2 AFC teams, so honestly, of course, we'd want both teams to lose in a perfect world. But this is really interesting because I think this is a must-win for the Chargers.
Oh, yeah.
Because they sit here 2-3, and they don't have, too tough a schedule remaining. But if they lose, they're now 2-4, and they play the Bears, Jets, Lions, and then they have a game against the Ravens later in the year, and the Bills, and again with the Chiefs. So if you fall too much behind the 8 ball at 2-4, I just think that's too much to overcome. I'm really looking forward to that game. I think the Dolphins and Bills will be pretty good on Sunday Night Football. Man, we've had some pretty great takes today. Pretty fair analysis, pretty cogent. I'd love it. Love it. I can't wait to get in here next week. Talk about hopefully an Ohio State win, hopefully a UTSA win. Hopefully all our teams do well. Hopefully the Chiefs and the Chargers and that terrible Justin Herbert is better than Burrow debate. Hopefully we can put that to rest. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back in here next week to talk about some UTSA football and others. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Click our logo to subscribe or click the videos for more from the Paisano. Leave a comment letting us know your thoughts and what you'd like to see us cover next.